Hadith are categorized in many categories. For our purposes, we'll say 5 main categories you should all be aware of. Number 1, grade A, Sahih. Number 2, grade B, Hasan. Number 3, grade C, Da'if. Number 4, grade D, which is Da'if Jiddan. And number 5, grade F, fabricated, fabricated. Grade F, fabricated, we know for a fact the Prophet ﷺ did not say it. Fabricated, we know ilm al-yaqeen, we know this is a kadhib, this is a lie. For example, the infamous fabricated hadith, seek knowledge even if you have to go to China. This is fabricated, the Prophet ﷺ never uttered it, we know exactly who fabricated it. So this is fabricated. Now, Sahih and Hasan, the only difference between them is the quality of narrators. You know, you have grade A and you have grade B students. They're both good. They're both above average. They're both passing the class with good. If you get a B in a class, overall you've done good. You know, 2 thumbs up or a thumb and a half up, no big deal. The A students, mashallah, excellent. So Hasan hadith is grade B. Okay, above average, good. Good, you did the job. Hasan hadith is essentially an authentic hadith, and for our purposes it is sahih unless it clashes with the sahih, in which case we give precedence to sahih over hasan. Otherwise, grade A and B, good enough. Now, grade C and D, there's something called da'if and there's something called da'if jiddan. Da'if is a weak hadith, and there are over 35 reasons why a hadith can be weak. The most common one, the person in the chain is unknown, or there's a missing link, a very small missing link. For example, one narrator who was born in 100 Hijrah narrates from Abu Hurairah, who died in 57 Hijrah. So how did the guy born in 100 Hijrah or born in 80 Hijrah hear from Abu Hurairah? There's a missing link. Right? So, and this is typically in early Islam when we weren't, things were not fully codified. So this is a da'if hadith. We don't know. What does it mean a hadith is da'if? It means we are not certain. Maybe the Prophet ﷺ said it, maybe he didn't. We are uncertain. Da'if jiddan, we are fairly certain that he did not say it, but it's not an intentional fabrication. It's a mistake from one of the narrators. Some narrator made a mistake, somebody messed up something, but it's not a fabrication. A fabrication means we know somebody intentionally lied. So da'if jiddan, for our purposes, we throw it out the window. It's clearly an error, but it's not a fabrication. Now, the controversy comes over only category C, which is da'if. And in a nutshell, the vast majority of scholars from early Islam to medieval Islam to pre-modern Islam, 13 centuries of scholarship. This is so much so that many ulama even said there is ijma' or there is ittifaq of the ulama. They said a da'if hadith, listen to this carefully, can never be used for theology. You cannot derive aqidah from a da'if hadith, or for halal and haram. You cannot base a ruling of halal and haram from a da'if hadith. But the vast majority of scholars said you may use it in what is called nafil actions, or supererogatory, or fada'il, or encouragement. So to encourage people to do something generically good, you may use da'if hadith. And this is the explicit opinion of hundreds of ulama, and there's no time to go into them. But the most famous amongst them, beginning with Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal himself, he said, when we narrate a hadith about halal and haram, he made a fist. He said, shaddadna, we make it strict. And then when we narrate hadith about other things, he opened his hand, tasahalna, we make it easy. Okay, about fada'il, tasahalna, he made it easy. This is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Ibn Abd al-Barr and Imam al-Nawawi in his famous commentary on a book of the sciences of hadith. And in it he says there is consensus of the ulama. In other words, he didn't know of any difference of opinion. There is consensus of the ulama that a weak hadith may be used as long as some conditions are met. Number one, it is used in fada'il, which is, as we said, encouraging good things, or talking about generically something bad and everybody knows it's bad, but a hadith comes with a specific reward or a specific punishment, we may use that. Number two, that it is not haram and halal, it is not theology. And then some have added number three, that the one who narrates the hadith should tell the audience that it is a weak hadith. This had been the famous methodology throughout most of Islam. However, many later scholars began to be very lax and they began using da'if jiddan, maybe even fabricated hadith. And it became something very common, especially after, let's say medieval times. So let's say from around 900, 1000 Hijrah, the science of hadith, there really was no great mujaddid to come in the sciences of hadith. So scholars became very lax. If it's found in some book somewhere, we can quote it. And the simple reality is, the greatest scholar of hadith, Imam al-Bukhari, the single greatest scholar of hadith, Imam al-Bukhari, he wrote 22 books of hadith. Of them we have still existent, around 12 are still existent. In every one of them, without exception, he used da'if hadith except one, and that is his Sahih. And so even Imam al-Bukhari, and no one can accuse him of not loving the Sunnah, and no one can accuse him of not knowing Sahih and Hasan and Da'if. In every single book of his, along with Imam Muslim wrote a number of books. He wrote Kitab al-Tamyiz, and he wrote his Muqaddimah. In his other books, Imam Muslim himself has hadith that are slightly weak. And of course he knows they're weak because they're not in his Sahih. He purposely did not put them in his Sahih. So Imam al-Bukhari wanted to give you the creme de la creme, grade A. This is my Sahih. But he fully understood that it is permissible to use da'if hadith for broader things. And the same goes for Ibn Taymiyyah, his books, and I have read hundreds of volumes of Ibn Taymiyyah. Everybody knows this, that Ibn Taymiyyah used da'if hadith all the time, not for fiqh, not for theology, but for blessings and whatnot. This is well known. And so it should be used properly. We use Imam al-Nawawi's conditions, and that is, you do not use it for haram and halal, you do not use it for theology, you use it only to encourage generic good. And so when those da'if hadith that are proving something new fiqh, new halal, new haram, that might be problematic. But it's generically known, everybody should memorize the Quran. Da'if hadith comes and gives you a certain blessing that might not be found anywhere else. What do we lose? Because, remember this point, da'if hadith, maybe the Prophet ﷺ said it and maybe he didn't. So put your trust in Allah. Why can't we? Why can't we have that good intention of Allah? What do we lose by encouraging the generic good when people follow da'if hadith? With the caveat, as we said, we do not derive haram and halal by unanimous consensus. So that in a nutshell is the issue of da'if hadith.